Encouraging more Ohioans to vote and changing the way Ohio's legislative districts are drawn. A wide-ranging interview with State Senator Nina Turner, next on Ohio in Focus. Welcome to Ohio in Focus, the program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Mike Rao. We welcome to our studio State Senator Nina Turner of Cleveland. Senator Turner represents the 25th Senate District. Senator, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We want to talk about a lot of election and voting issues today, but before we get to that, another piece of legislation that you've been working on a lot is Senate Bill 83, which would repeal the statute of limitations on rape in the state of Ohio. This was introduced a year ago. What is the status of this, and do you feel that now is really the time for something to be done? I
do, Mike, and not just rape, but also sexual battery. This bill, my co-sponsor, my dual sponsor, is State Senator Capri Cafaro, and yes, it'll be a year in March that this bill has been waiting for a second hearing. I mean, it is very important that we make sure that we give law enforcement and also the survivors of rape the opportunity to come forward whenever they feel is appropriate for them and their circumstances, and giving law enforcement yet another tool in their toolbox. And it is very disheartening given the fact that 1 in 7 women report being forcibly sexually assaulted, that in the state of Ohio we would not even allow this bill to have the requisite debate that it deserves.
Recently, the Cleveland Plain Dealer editorialized on this legislation, urging that it be brought up and passed, opening the door, though, for some potential changes to the bill. Are you open to that, or what you're thinking?
Well, I'm certainly open to the debate. I mean, I know that there are some folks who believe that if the statute of limitation is lifted, it should be limited to only DNA evidence. There are other evidences out there that may prove whether or not someone committed a crime. The bottom line is that the legal system will work its way out. I mean, it's not just DNA evidence. There are other technologies out there to maybe connect somebody to the crime, but certainly we are open to having that discussion. But we can't even have that discussion because the chairman refuses to give our bill another hearing. We have many people who are supporting this bill. Senator Cafaro and I have heard from people from all across the state, not just activists, but also law enforcement and also prosecutors as well. In Cuyahoga County, as you may remember, last year, there was an indictment pending, and the fact that it was one day beyond the 20-year statute, they could not go after this case. And because of the backlogs of rape kits, it is vitally important that we take action on this. There are over 20 states in our great union who do have bills similar to what Senator Cafaro and I are pushing. Again, this is about the survivors and their lives, and really just giving them the opportunity to take control whenever they see appropriate. Rape is one of the most underreported crimes in our country, and it's very painful. It is life-altering. No one, unless you've been through it, can even imagine what it takes to even come forward. So why not aid them through strong and good public policy?
Now, there have been some groups that had questions about this. I think the prosecutors were one of them when it was first introduced. Do you feel that some of those questions have been answered for them, and they're more interested and more supportive?
Not necessarily. I mean, there are some individual prosecutors who have come forward to say that they support this bill with or without DNA evidence, but the Prosecutors Association has flat out said they won't support it if the DNA evidence is not attached. And also, almost in a callous way, I mean, there was a comment by one of the lobbyists for the Prosecutors Association that basically intimated that if someone has not come forward in 20 years, oh well. And I'm paraphrasing what he had to say, but that callous attitude toward the crime of rape, that callous attitude towards a survivor, certainly does not aid in this discussion. Again, we are welcoming and open to having the conversation, but let's do it in the committee space so that the members of the committee can hear both sides of this argument, and hopefully we can come to a happy medium. But that happy medium must have the survivor's best interest in mind and not the convenience of other people.
Optimistic at this point?
Hope springs eternal. We will keep pushing. Lots of the activists will be in and around the State House coming up soon. As we know, March is Women's History Month, and we're hoping to continue to push so that at least we can have this discussion in the open.
All right, let's transition over to election and voting legislation, something near and dear to your heart. Once again, in this General Assembly, there's been a lot of different bills passed. What do you think of kind of your overall view of what's been going on?
The environment that's being created in the legislature right now is one that will restrict access to the ballot box, and it really makes no sense. Ohio took great pains after the debacle of 2004, where we made headlines for all the wrong reasons. People standing in line for hours. They report that over 175,000 people left the line because they had to wait so long. They did not vote in 2004. The General Assembly, of which I was not a member at that time, it corrected itself, and so that's why we have no fault, early voting, 35-day open, early voting available in the state of Ohio, and it was working. It was absolutely working. So I don't understand why now in 2014 that there is it's necessary to take us back in time instead of move us forward. It is absolutely, to me, an attack on the democracy that we hold true, that the only great equalizer, or one of the two great equalizers that we have in this country and in this state, is one woman, one man, one vote. And to put up hurdles for groups of people definitely is un-American.
It seems in every GA lately there have been changes to legislation, changes to legislation on voting and elections. How confusing do you think that makes it for the voter? Very
confusing. I remember in 2012, Mike, going to my local dry cleaners, and they were late. I was there at 8:30. They got there about 8:45, and it was early voting time. And they said, we went because in 2008 we were able to go early, but now we went down there and it was not open. Okay, they couldn't even keep up. Voters can't keep up with all the changes because they're coming at such a dizzying pace. And it does a disservice to the citizens of the state and to the voters of the state to continue to change the rules of the game and not even change them in a way that expands and protects the ballot box. They're changing the rules in a way that suppresses and creates more obstacles for people to vote in this state, and it's wrong.
What would you like to see done about elections?
My God, I mean, let's come to the table together. It should not be partisan when it comes to what is necessary to make sure that voting is expanded. What we have in Ohio right now is working at 35-day window. We certainly need to have voter registration, online voter registration, of which I have a bill that deals with that. There are several bills pending in the legislature that would enhance the voting experience, but we can barely get hearings on those. But the way that they're fast-pacing the bills that destroy the integrity of voting is, it just doesn't make sense. I would like to see pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds. There are studies that show the earlier we introduce young people to the voting process, the more likely they are to continue to vote throughout their lifetimes. I would like to see a push for making sure that we celebrate elections every single year and not just wait for the presidential, the big crescendo that comes for presidentials, that every year there's an election, every year there's something happening on that ballot that is important to the citizens of the state, that people should vote regularly, they should vote often. What I mean by that, they should vote in every single election, that electing a school board member is just as important as electing the president of the United States.
You mentioned online voter registration.
Yes.
Bipartisan support for that.
Absolutely.
Other states are doing it. Why haven't we done it yet?
My God, I don't know. And the Pew Center is very much in support of it. It would save money. It would make the system more efficient. So I don't know why my Republican colleagues refuse to open up that opportunity for the voters of this state. It makes great economic sense, and it also makes great sense in terms of being very voter-centric.
I want to talk to you about one last thing, and that's redistricting.
Yes.
Every time that we draw districts in the state of Ohio, every 10 years,
yes,
always controversy on how they end up, gerrymandering and so forth.
Yes.
There is SJR 1, which would change the process about how we draw those lines. You were one of the people who pushed for that.
Yes.
You think How's that going over? Is there potential for something happening on that?
I hope so. There was one hearing on that in this General Assembly. Hopefully it will. As you may recall, in the last General Assembly, we passed that. It was at SJR 5 at the time, but it passed 32-1, and that is a big deal to make sure that the minority, whoever they may be, would have a voice in how the lines are redrawn in terms of the vote and getting that kind of consensus. I'm hoping that it will. Right now, the Constitutional Modernization Commission is meeting, and this commission has both everyday citizens on it as well as members of the legislature, and I know that they're working on the plan, and then our SJR1 is percolating through the Senate as we speak. I'm hoping that we do this. This state is conservative by design and not conservative by desire, and it creates hyper-partisanship both in the legislature and also in Congress. So as citizens are very concerned about what is happening from a public policy lens, they can all roads lead back to the way that the lines were drawn. This is not good for our democracy. It is not good for progress. And we need to do something right now. As a matter of fact, we need to do mid-decade redistricting to correct the wrongs that are going on in this General Assembly right now and also in Congress.
For people who aren't familiar with SJR1, can you give me kind of a thumbnail sketch of what it would do and why that system would be better?
It would take the apportionment board process, which draws the lines just for those of us who run for the General Assembly, for the state legislature, and also combine the congressional district line drawn for one body that would include the governor, the secretary of state, the auditor, and people appointed by both the majority and minority parties to serve on that board, and current members of the General Assembly could not serve on the board, but their appointees could, as they seek to draw the lines in a way that does not favor one political party over another, the way it should be done, because constituents should be choosing their elected officials, citizens should be choosing their elected officials and not the other way around. It brings more balance. And then ultimately, before any map could be passed, there must be one vote from someone from the minority party. So at any given time, you don't know who would be in the majority or who would be in the minority, but it gives that kind of balance to the process and thereby creating a better product, a better outcome for the citizens of the state of Ohio. Something needs to be done right now.
All right. Thank you, Senator Turner. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Well, you can keep up to date on Senator Turner and the entire Ohio Senate Democratic Caucus on Facebook, Twitter, and at ohiosenate.gov. Thanks for watching Ohio in Focus.